Happy to have you aboard here for the Really Big Barbecue Show.
Boing.
We cook because we have to, and we grill because we want to.
Hit me.
Fine, how's it going?
You have a great show. I'm a big fan.
Boing.
So what seems to be the problem here? This man looks like he's dead, and he's in the crackle.
Sean Bono. It's all about the Sean Bono, dude.
Succulent fish. What?
He ate 54 wieners.
But listen, Lavernius, shut your face.
I'm shaking like a dog shit peach seeds.
We have top men working on it right now. Top men.
And just like that, we are into the second hour of Barbecue Central show, where we talk about only the most high-line items of the barbecue and grilling world. Still to come on this show this evening, Wes Wright and Daniel Vaughn, CookoutNews.com and Texas Monthly, respectively. We say good evening to those of you watching this show tonight through one of our video streaming platforms. You can go to Facebook.com/BBQ Central Show. You can go to Twitter.com/BBQ Central Show. Or you can watch on YouTube, which is YouTube.com/@BBQ Central Show. We have a new YouTube poll question of the week, and I am flabbergasted at these results. We're asking everybody this, including all guests. Will you buy Meathead's new book when it's released in 2025? And 52% of you are saying yes. Moments ago, it was once again in the other direction. I think it was 52 to 54% saying that they would not buy it. Guys, I'm shocked. Has Meathead become long in the tooth? Is that a saying? You've had enough. You're not. Too much time has passed since book number 1, where you won't buy book number 2, or you think it's just going to be a regurgitation of book number 1. I'm shocked. Jack Arnold said he's definitely buying in 2025. I'm definitely buying in 2025. Will I read it? You know me and books, right?
Get that big stuff out of here.
52% of you are way better, or I'm sorry, 48% of you should be rethinking your answer. And we'll leave it there. Coming up on the best moments of the Barbecue Central show. Did I say that right? Coming up on the best moments of the Barbecue Central show in 10 minutes or less, 364 episodes it will number, taking you back to December 20th of 2011. Can anybody tell me what happened on that show date? A historic date, one that lives forever. Not an infamy, but for me. Total famous. Completely crazy. Never done before, never to be done again, never to be remade by anybody. Can only remain the way it is forever and ever. The 12 days of barbecue Christmas.
Hey, everybody, can I trouble you for a Hoya?
No? All right. If it's your first time into the show, if you're not familiar with the 12 days of barbecue Christmas, we do have to immediately mention, aside from Bobby, Maddie, and Marley, who were, 2011, that's, 6 years ago. It had to have been even longer than that. Maybe that's, it can't be 2011, I guess. So 14 years ago. Yeah, that's right. So 13 years ago, Bobby would have been 8. Maddie would be 7. And Marley is 9. She'd be like 5 years old. So my backup singers that you're hearing this coming Friday on the 12 Days of Barbecue Christmas are very young. Bobby, Maddie, and Marley. You hear more towards the end of the song because they didn't remember the words in the first part of the song, but they remembered after repetition. And of course, how could we not mention the Pizziola de Pizziolis, Matt Frampton from Hot Grill on Grill Action, along with his cohort and competition partner, Logan Hendrickson from Hot Grill on Grill Action, who penned the song. They are the writers of the song, The 12 Days of Barbecue Christmas. I found the really crappy, to-be-used, ASCAP safe. I don't know. What do you call that? Non-copyright. It's a techno version of the 12 Days of Barbecue Christmas. It's horrible. The music is horrible. The song is great, and we execute it with only one error out of 12, and we're just reading it just right off the rip. So if you've never heard it, I recommend that you subscribe to the show. John does this every year about this time. Returns to the 12 Days of Barbecue Christmas whenever Christmas falls within that week. So if you've never heard it, subscribe to the podcast feed, which is something you can do by visiting thebbqcentralshow.com/subscribe. You get the Best Moment show. You get the regular show. Hour number 1 Wednesdays, hour number 2 Thursdays, Best Moments on Fridays. All right, we're all caught up, so let's go ahead and get out here so we can get to Wes. He's in the green room, ready to go. Folks, the holiday season is here. Forget upon us. This bad bitch is right in our face. That means we can look forward to Christmas lights, football games, listening to Sirius XM Holly all day and all night, and the whole family coming over to the house for a holiday meal. It's time to dust off the old box of family recipes. There still might be a few you can read. Oh, the fun is just beginning, and the fun is in full swing. And so is the stress. But nevertheless, this year, your friends at Franklin Barbecue are here to tell you it just doesn't have to be the chestnuts roasting over an open fire, and that the luckiest among us can hear the beautiful crackle of post oak heating up in the firebox in a brand new Franklin pit. From now through the end of the year, which is only 2 weeks, you can enjoy $250 off the price of an offset smoker designed by famed pitmaster Aaron Franklin. You might know Aaron from his award-winning restaurant in Austin, from his best-selling books, or maybe from his masterclass series. Did you know he's a traveling musician? Rock and roll band. He writes the music, composer, and lead guitarist, believe it or not. He plays all the dive bars in Austin. Check him out. Did you know that since 2020, he's been helping folks master the craft of backyard barbecue all across the country with his heirloom quality Franklin BBQ pit? It's true. Designed and built to be second to none. The Franklin pit made in the USA with quarter-inch American steel. Every Franklin pit is a thing of beauty, unique unto itself with natural markings, its own badge number, its masterful design, and the thickness of its steel guarantees professional-grade heat retention and impeccable airflow, musts for making truly great barbecue. Make this holiday season special. Kickstart your barbecue journey by ordering your Franklin barbecue pit today. You can still use the family recipe, of course, but your holiday meal will never be the same, plus $250 off. Purchase now through the end of the year. Merry Christmas and happy holidays from your barbecue family at Franklin Barbecue Pits, and hear us Barbecue Central Show. But first, go to franklinbbqpits.com and order your pit and save $250 off while you do it. We're back with Wes Wright. Stick around, we'll be right back.
You're listening to the Barbecue Central Show. Howard Stern, Jim Rome, Dan Patrick, and Greg Rempe. The Mountain Rushmore of talk show entertainment. Now, let's get back to the Barbecue Central Show.
And we welcome you back. This portion of the show being brought to you by Pit Barrel Cooker, the most unbelievable outdoor cooking device on the planet. Available in 3 sizes, a host of accessories. Whether you're a beginner or professional, it doesn't matter. It's just a cooker you want to add to the arsenal. Visit pitbarrelcooker.com and tell them the Barbecue Central Show sent you. My next guest tonight runs cookoutnews.com and is the third Tuesday of the month. Regular guest, usually 35 past the first hour segment, but tonight he backs it up to the 10:14 Eastern slot to make room for our previous guest, Jack Arnold, here to talk about the latest news and happenings in the live fire industry. Our pal, Wes Wright. Wes, we have a YouTube poll question of the week that we're asking everybody, including all guests, which is this: will you buy Meathead's new book when it's released in 2025? Yes or no?
Yeah, I'll go check that out.
All right, 52% of the YouTube voting public is saying, yes, they will. Are you shocked that it's even that close to 50-50?
No, I would think it'd be much higher. I mean, I like a good, barbecue book. I don't know why you wouldn't go get Meatheads. He has some fantastic books.
Maybe my audience has grown weary of Meathead. I don't know. Hate to say it, but maybe it's anti. I don't know. Meathead, I hope you don't listen to this podcast. I know you're not taking it in live, but don't listen to it later either. I'm going to send him a note tomorrow and go, skip this one. Technical issues, nothing released. Very fragile. Wes, the biggest news in live fire over the past week and over the past 300 and some odd days is this. The headline, Weber and Blackstone merging, combining, coming together, getting married. I don't know what the right term is, but December 2nd, the announcement was made that Weber and Blackstone will merge. Would you say this is the biggest live fire news piece that has happened this year?
Without a doubt. It's, huge news, and I didn't even see it coming. I talked to other people in the industry. They didn't see it coming. So, yeah, it's a pretty massive story.
Any idea who approached who or how this happens?
This one's hard because you could make a case for both companies. Blackstone wanted to go public before because their partner in their business that owns the business is their manufacturer in China. They were going to do an IPO because I think the dad of their partner wanted to cash out. So that's why they were going to IPO and then invest in innovation and things like that. Their IPO failed, but that doesn't change that they still need to cash somebody out of their business, right? So that's a case for them selling. Then when you look at Weber, they went back private because, in my opinion, they were flirting with bankruptcy there when everything went terrible. And I'm sure that, it hasn't gotten better over the past year or so, maybe incrementally, but not with their cash problems. So they may have been looking for somebody too. So I don't know if they talked or if, a lot of times if you're looking to raise money, sell your business, buy a business, you'll engage an investment bank and they put together a business plan. It's, it's called a SIM or a pitch book. It's just all about your business. And then they actively shop it. They have a list of people. It's it's fundamentally sales. So you talk to people in investment firms, other companies, all that. So it may have been that, or it may have been through a relationship where they said, hey, we both could get something out of this.
In a surprising or maybe not surprising move, Roger Daly will take over as CEO of the merged companies. Safe to say that Blackstone is seen as the better run brand since Roger is tabbed for the position?
I think so. I mean, usually the bigger company gets a say in who's going to be CEO. So I'm kind of surprised that it was Roger, unless, they put that ego aside and just thought he was the better CEO, I guess. But also, Weber's CEO, when everything went to crap a couple of years ago, they fired their CEO and put in the guy who was the head of their IT. Nothing against him. He just didn't strike me as somebody that would run the company long term. So maybe that was it, where, Roger's done a phenomenal job with, building Blackstone. Weber, everybody knows them, but I'd say Blackstone's the hotter brand right now, with what people want. So yeah, it was surprising. It's a long way to say it was surprising to me that Roger would, be the CEO.
How well do you think Weber has clawed back customer appreciation, or maybe not even that, for nerds like us who have seen them what appeared to race Traeger to become public only to go back private again? And as you said, it was kind of a big failure. It was the smoke fire of business, you could say, them going to IPO. Have they, from what you've heard, been able to right the ship to a certain degree, or are we still taking on water?
I think Weber has a couple problems, and they also have some great things going for them. One, they have the strongest brand, I'd say, out of anybody, any grill company, most well-known worldwide too. I think though they were probably losing market share to other brands like Traeger, like Blackstone, things like that. But I think that with some of the innovation they've put out recently, they probably, would start to gain people back. That's just a really slow process. But their Searwood pellet grill, looks like a great product. Or Their new Summit, while wildly overpriced in my opinion, is still a really innovative product. So they have that going for them. Where I felt like before some of their offerings were kind of run of the mill, a little boring. So I think they're starting to right the ship, but I think there's some problems that they have to rebuild with their brand and enthusiasm around it.
I've heard the new griddle too is great. The Slate or whatever it's called.
Yeah, the Slate looks great too. I mean, it's one of the only griddles too that comes, pre-seasoned and has a lot of cool features on it for sure.
I asked Mike Lang this question 2 weeks ago. I'll ask you now. At some point, will one of these brand names go away, or do you see them both coexisting over time?
I think they'll coexist. I think what they'll do is, in our market in the U.S., I think they'll just, almost operate as separate brands. But I bet you overseas, they might, market Blackstone by Weber or something like that to leverage Weber's brand name worldwide, as opposed to people outside of the U.S. may not know Blackstone, and they haven't really done a lot of I think like 99% of their business is in North America. So they will a lot of catching up to do in that regard. But I think they'll just coexist as two companies for, a long time as far as brands go.
In these instances, has it been your experience if they would remain as independent companies, at least here in the States, would you not have two CEOs, or is that too redundant?
Yeah, you usually don't want that cost, and ultimately you see it with a lot of like founder-led companies where there's two founders, and so you have co-CEOs. There's always the question, okay, but who makes the ultimate decision when somebody has to, right? Which is a problem. I think for now, they said they're gonna keep their headquarters that they have in Illinois and also have one in Utah, but I could see at some point that, not being the case, where one is truly the headquarters and the other is maybe an outpost or something like that. But I think that they'll just a lot of the benefit of doing a merger like that is you can consolidate a lot of functions. So you can share R&D, you can share marketing, you can share, logistics, things like that. So I can't see them keeping two CEOs.
There isn't a ton of redundancy when it comes to product offerings. However, there is griddle redundancy. Blackstone, widely known as the Kleenex of the griddle industry, but Weber is really trying to flex their muscle on their own griddle product as well. Does it make sense to keep them both, or will one go away?
Yeah, I think that's the hardest thing to answer. It's what I could see them doing is targeting different customers. I'd say Blackstone and Weber has different brand images, so they may not have as many varieties of griddles. Like even Weber has a couple where, and Blackstone has a whole bunch. They might consolidate the number they have, but I would think they would both make griddles just to different consumers. But I think that's the trickiest thing. I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
I don't know. I think Blackstone makes the better. This is only my experience. I don't have a Weber griddle at this point, but just from a market share number, like I think things that are going to be seen as product redundancies. I mean, I would go so far as to say I think that one of those names is going to drop. I think Blackstone would probably drop or become a sub name, and they will keep the Weber name because it is more globally known in the industry versus Blackstone, like you were saying. Their number is huge here in the States, but not globally. So if you're making this merger, you want to be as big as you can be. You want to keep the name brand that is most associated with being the biggest in the industry. So I could see them dropping Blackstone by and large in the next 5 years or less, because I think you're leading to potential customer confusion. We can sit here and go, easy for us to tell the difference. But if you're telling people that, oh, well, they're the same company, but they're two different brands. I mean, we know how smart the consumer is in the live fire industry by and large. I think they're going to be confused. So you want to eliminate some of that. As far as product redundancies, I think, if Blackstone wanted to have gas grills, now they have their hands on being able to pull some over and brand them if they wanted to. And then Blackstone can help Weber with any deficiencies that they might want to. But again, I think you're leading to potential product crossover, product confusion, which is why we end up going to one name. And now you have the whole breadth of product that are available. It's just under one manufacturer, which kind of leads me into my next question. Why do this move if both brands are going to still be available, at least for the foreseeable future? What's the benefit of the merger?
I think it might be that it helps both companies stabilize and get what they want. Whatever the deal was, maybe Blackstone got the money out they needed, and it helps Weber because it helps build hype around their brand through something that a Blackstone's been really successful with, where their unit sales were dropping pretty drastically over the past few years. And so I think it creates stability and growth for both companies in a way. There's a lot of areas with global distribution and supply chain that they can benefit one another. So I think just together they're strong. Where separately they had some issues.
Do you have any predictions for long-term success here?
I mean, I think they'll do great. It seems like it'd be really hard for Weber to see Weber not do well with how strong their brand is and how much of the market they own. So with Roger as CEO and what he can do with innovation, I think it's going to be really successful.
I'm looking forward to getting Roger on the show here, perhaps within the next month or so, and getting his take on it. I'm not sure exactly how candid or forthright he'll be able to be as far as a legal standpoint, but he's always been open and honest on this show, so looking forward to that. In other news, Traeger releases the new Traeger Woodridge pellet cooker. Is this a addition to what's out there, or is it a replace?
Yeah, they haven't officially released it yet either, even though I have images and everything in full specs.
Kind of like that other one that wasn't supposed to be out, but there were videos a month in advance.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, on my website, I have a video of somebody building it at a Home Depot, and I have full specs, and you can even theoretically buy it at a hardware store. But yeah, there's nothing on their social media. They haven't made any announcements officially about the grill, but it should be. I'm guessing this week yet. It has to be released because they claim it's going to be shipping in this quarter, and we're running out of time. But I think it's going to replace. They have that. They always go with the outside of their retailer exclusives. They go with that good, better, best model. So they have the Pro Series is their entry level Wi-Fi grill. Then they have the then the Ironwood, then the Timberline. I think the Woodridge comes in and replaces the Pro Series, which has that previous barrel style that they've gotten away from with, their new grills. And to me, just with the look of it, and it's what used to be the difference between the Pro Series and the Ironwood, this new grill has the exact same differences. It doesn't have super smoke, and it only has one set of casters. I don't know about insulated lid or not, but I think it comes in and replaces that entry level, that grill that they have in their lineup.
Any idea on cost?
I think that they did a good job keeping the price down, which I'm sure some of that is driven by how cheap the Weber Searwood was, whereas Traeger's, their Ironwood and Timberline have been getting incrementally more and more expensive. This one, what I'm seeing is that it'll be $7.99 for the smallest model. They're also, it appears they're going to have a Pro model and something called an Elite model. The Pro model, I think, is just going to be bigger. I don't know what the Elite model is, though. I've seen that just in a couple places, but with no details.
Is there any luster off Traeger? It didn't seem like in 2024 they did a lot of big things, a couple collaborations here or there. Maybe we see this Woodridge come out before the end of the year. Not, as you said, we only got a couple weeks left. Is there a little shine off Traeger this year?
Yeah, I mean, how you keep that hype and around your brand is by releasing new products. And the previous 2 years, they released the Timberline, the Ironwood, and they released the Flat Rock too last year. this year they didn't have anything come out in spring, so it's hard to keep people talking about your brand and keep that hype when you're not releasing new products. So I'd say so.
Outside of the Weber and Blackstone merger news that released beginning of the month, what do you think the most important news story was this year from a barbecue and grilling perspective?
That's a good question. I've been so focused on that Blackstone Weber one. I can't think of what another one to point to right now.
I think like lost in this whole thing is the fact that this year was the definitive movement of John Maris telling me on the show like a year or two ago that we're only going direct to consumer only this year to like, hey, we're going right to retail and F direct to consumer. That was a huge turnaround in a pretty short amount of time. They were pretty confident they were never going to do that. And they gave me reasons why.
Yeah, I think that's a good call. And you see that not only with Traeger, but Solo Brands, which you just mentioned, John Maris. Yeah, it was all about D2C, and then it was not anymore. And it seems like a lot of brands are doing that, where they're hyping their retail channels significantly, way more, because they say they saturated D2C and people can't come and see their products and don't know what they are, and they're missing out on sales. Yeah, I think that's, I think you're spot on with that.
Any news story you think is going to pop off beginning of 2025 you'd like to make a prediction on, or that you might be slow tracking?
Yeah, I mean, I know there's going to be some grill releases in January. Also, I heard from somebody that goes to manufacturing facilities that there's companies that are interested or creating new combo/hybrid grills. So that's going to be a thing coming out too. So we'll see.
All right, we'll check that out. You should be reading Wes every day. Why not? Cookoutnews.com is his website. You can see him here the second Tuesday of every month. Wes, appreciate all the great stories and visits here in 2024 and looking to great stories as we rekindle in 2025.
Yeah, thanks, Greg.
You got it. Wes Wright, doing it better than anybody else right now, covering all the late-breaking live fire business news, cookoutnews.com, and associated social channels if you're following him there. Big news, Weber and Blackstone. Wow. Huge. This holiday season, give the gift that will light up every backyard. Big Papa Smokers has everything for the barbecue lover in your life. From award-winning rubs and sauces, top-of-the-line grills and smokers, Big Papa Smokers is your flavor foundation with pitmaster favorites like Sweet Money, Little Louie's Seasoned Salt, Cash Cow, Desert Gold, Happy Ending, many more, and they're all great. Plus, for a limited time, use promo code REMPE15, R-E-M-P-E, and the numerals 15, REMPE15 at checkout. Get 15% off your entire purchase. Now, until a week from now, December 24th it ends. Exclusions apply, of course. Visit BigPapaSmokers.com for details. Once again, that's promo code REMPE15, all together, R-E-M-P-E 15, and that gets you 15% off your entire purchase. So buy it all and then get 15% off all of it with REMPE15 at checkout. Remember, your food just got better with Big Papa Smokers. Sterling, thinking about you, pal. Have a great Christmas and a Happy New Year. We'll talk soon. And we are back with Daniel Vaughn right after this. Stick around. Be right back.
You're listening to the Barbecue Central Show. Whole packers, full racks, legs and thighs, injecting butts. If you've never heard this before, you might think you found the best XXX show ever. Let's get back to the most homoerotic host out there today, Greg Rempe.
Thanking Wes Wright from CookoutNews.com for joining us last segment. This portion brought to you by McAuliffe Cigars, where each blend is a chapter in a great tale of craftsmanship and passion. Portfolio, a symphony of flavors, each note carefully composed to create an unforgettable Nicaraguan smoking experience. I suggest you try the color series, McAuliffe Black, McAuliffe Blue, McAuliffe Red. If you would like a sample of all of those, just shoot an email to me. I have some I can send you out. Black was the 2023 Cigar of the Year by Cigar Authority. Red is up for that distinction as well. Visit McAuliffeCigars.com to find a retailer near you. Helping me close the show tonight and the last live segment of 2024 is the barbecue editor for Texas Monthly Magazine. You also see him on this show for quarterly visits through this year as we talk about things going on in Texas and in the barbecue world in general. An inaugural member of the 2018 Barbecue Central Show's Guest Hall of Fame, Daniel Vaughn, joining us here on the show. Daniel, Merry Christmas. How's everybody?
Doing great. Merry Christmas to you too. Great to see you.
We have a YouTube poll question of the week that we're asking everybody, including all guests, which is this: will you buy Meathead's new book when it's released in 2025?
Of course I'll buy Meathead's new book. Yeah. I mean, a great new barbecue book by a great barbecue author.
The YouTube voting public is a little more 50-50, 52% of people saying they will buy the book, but that means 48% of folks are saying they will not buy this book. So given my audience, my time with Meathead, are you surprised?
If I could write a book and get 30% of the audience saying they'd buy it, I'd be happy.
Oh, all right. Well, then he'll take 52%, I'm sure. You look like you might have been in and out of the conversation I was having with Wes Wright. Certainly nothing that we had talked about discussing here, but we'd love to get your take if you had one. With the merging of Blackstone and Weber, I'm calling it the biggest business news of the year, and it's happened as the year is closing. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, and listening to the conversation, I had some of the same questions that you had. Like, what is the benefit for both of these companies to merge and basically still sell the same products? I mean, they had competing products. Now you've got competing products within the same brand umbrella. So, yeah, I'm not sure. But I did look up the Traeger Woodridge. I can go pick one up at Home Depot tomorrow, 3 miles away. So, yeah, it's certainly out there.
Between Blackstone and Weber, could you see, probably not Weber, but could you see one of those names dropping off? Now, look, all things being out there in the open, make sure we're saying this the right way. January, I think, has to come to an end, or this whole transaction was set to close by the end of January. Hopefully we can have Roger Daly on the show to talk about that after everything. But let's assume that goes to close, no issues, blah, blah, blah. Could you see a time when one of those names gets dropped to not have customer confusion?
I mean, it's hard to think of that because Weber is such a strong brand. I mean, it's such a long history, such a huge connection to grilling and just the outdoor cooking. Blackstone, though, I think has become like the Kleenex of outdoor grills. I mean, that is just the brand name that just defines that product. And so I think rather than seeing one of those names drop off, I could certainly see like the Weber griddle dropping out of the certainly out of the brand's options. But yeah. It's hard to imagine either of those names going away, just with the great recognition that both of them have.
You should be reading Daniel Vaughn over at tmbbq.com. You should be following him on the Twitter at bbqsnob. Beginning of November, Michelin stars were handed out, and 4 Texas pitmasters, restaurants, whatever you want to say, earned Michelin stars. First time ever this has happened.
Yeah, the first, American-style barbecue joints that have ever gotten any sort of Michelin recognition or any Michelin stars. There's been others out there that have gotten Michelin recognition, Bib Gourmands, those things. But it was really surprising to see that in Texas there were 15 restaurants that received a Michelin star, and 4 of them were barbecue joints. So you've got Interstellar Barbecue in Cedar Park, just north of Austin, Law Barbecue in Austin, Leroy and Lewis also in Austin. So Austin getting plenty of love, and then Corkscrew Barbecue in Spring, just outside of Houston. So it was great to be at the ceremony and see all of it happen, see the sort of drama that they put into the announcement itself. So yeah, it was a big day for barbecue for sure.
How do you compare and contrast winning a James Beard Award for barbecue and winning a Michelin star for barbecue?
Well, I mean, certainly there's more Michelin stars to go around, but I do think that there's been reporting from people within the committee who votes for the James Beard Awards that I guess highlighted some of the issues with the voting, and maybe made the award I don't know, a little less prestigious, knowing that the people voting on the best chef don't necessarily have to go to the restaurants they're voting on. And so, I think with that, I don't think there's any, there's certainly a whole lot of opaqueness with the process that Michelin goes through, but I don't think anybody's doubting that all the Michelin inspectors are actually going to these restaurants and eating the food to make these determinations.
Of the 4, let me ask you a better question. Am I trying to mark out to what I feel the standard of barbecue is, at least in Austin, being surprised that Franklin doesn't get a Michelin star?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's like Alabama not making the playoff, right? I mean, you got 12 teams in there. You're going to complain about one not making it in. I don't think that Michelin was going to name more than 4. I think that that was a surprise to so many people, myself included, that Texas barbecue would get that level of recognition. I think Franklin, I think they deserved it just based on the fact of what they mean. Like the fact that Michelin gives Texas barbecue that much, credence is the fact that Franklin barbecue exists and helped create the community and help create the culture that really allowed it to happen. So I think, you're not going to give out a lifetime achievement award right away. But I think just for the fact of what Franklin barbecue represents and what they've done for Texas barbecue culture, that they deserve that level of recognition in a Michelin star.
Between La Barbecue, Corkscrew, Leroy Lewis, Interstellar, dick question, but what do you expect from me? Who's your favorite and why?
Well, let me put it this way: like the Interstellar and Leroy and Lewis, not a surprise whatsoever for either one of those, and that's a lot to do with the sort of service model, right? You've got there's a higher level of service at both of those places. There's I think a higher level of creativity, really, in the variety of dishes that they offer. I think Leroy and Lewis is certainly pushing beyond, or certainly pushing those horizons of what Texas barbecue and what barbecue really is. And I think that is something that's going to be attractive to somebody who's a Michelin inspector. So yeah, I mean, what's my favorite?
If you only had to go to one, if you could only go to one.
If I could only go to one, I'd go to Leroy and Lewis. I mean,
the very quick.
I mean, the amount of it's just the sheer amount of variety of what they offer and the quality. I used to go in and I couldn't go there without getting the smoked burger. And then they added the smoked chopped cheese onto the menu, which is basically their smoked burger turned into a chopped cheese. And like, that's so good. That's now my favorite sandwich there. So, it's, it's easy to find a favorite to eat at Leroy and Lewis.
You would typically see a Michelin star reserved for fine dining. So immediately I'm thinking in Texas of John Tizar, for instance, who was won Michelin stars. What do you think this says about the food industry in general, where barbecue restaurants are now Michelin star winning?
I mean, I think it just shows like how elevated reputation of pitmasters has become. If you think about the reputation of what chefs were, say 20 years ago, they certainly weren't superstars. It was seen as an industry that you might go into as a last resort, not something that you would hope and pray to be able to be in. And I think pitmasters have reached that level as well. And I think because of that, I think the respect for the kind of cooking they do and the kind of food they produce, the hours and the time and the dedication that it requires to learn that craft is being respected in a way that it should have been maybe a long time ago.
Best news stories that you either authored or that you read that resonated with you in 2024?
Oh, man. Going and sitting down with Orange Holloway's family in Giddings, Texas. So Orange Holloway is the man that Tootsie Tominets learned to cook barbecue from. And he's long since passed, but I got to sit down with his 4 children, and they're all in their 80s and 90s. So being able to sit with them and talk with them about Orange Holloway's life and what he meant to Giddings, certainly what he meant to Texas barbecue and the way that he was the teacher of one of our, most beloved pitmasters in the state in Tootsie, who will be 90 years old next year, by the way. That was a good one. Really enjoyed that and really understood in the moment how, I wasn't going to have too many years left to be able to assemble that group of people to talk about Orange. I think being able to I really love research, like deep historical research. And so being able to research the origins of Kreutz Market through the Swearingen family, the Kreutz family, the Schmidt family, and where that restaurant really came from, how that meat market developed in Lockhart, Texas, before 1900, and just reading about people who own meat markets back in the time that Kreutz Market was opening. I mean, these are people who were, riding the cattle trails, before the railroads made it out west, just to give you some historical context of just how old a restaurant like Kreutz Market is.
Best bite of 2024.
Well, I did a top 50 list all over the country, and 50 best Texas barbecue joints outside of Texas. And in doing that list, there were certainly a lot of places that stuck out. Certainly 50 places were worthy of making the list. But Southern Junction in Buffalo, New York, was one of those places where, first of all, it's in Buffalo, New York. We're talking barbecue in Buffalo, right? Now you got a guy from Texas and Ryan Fernandez, or a guy from Texas who's originally from India, who grew up in Texas, and putting those flavors together in this restaurant in Buffalo. And that the smoked chicken, the half smoked chicken that he serves, it's got this, he brines the chicken, smokes it, but not till it's all the way done. Puts a paste on the outside that's like ginger and garlic and spices, and it's just incredible. And then he puts it in the oven to flash, hit it with some heat and crisp up that skin. And I mean, it was just one of those amazing bites where you're just like, too often chicken gets overlooked in barbecue conversations, and so that in itself made it even more memorable of a bite. In Texas, I suffer a little from recency bias. I think a lot of food writers do the same thing. It's like, what's been really great lately, but man, I'll tell you, like, I went to 1701 Barbecue in Beaumont. First off, 1701 Barbecue is in our top 50. So they came to the Texas Monthly Barbecue Festival that we hold in Lockhart the first weekend in November, and they served this cracklin. So it's a pork belly, a whole pork belly. They smoke it, they cube it, then season it up. They smoke it, cube it, deep fry it till it's nice and crispy. And then they season it heavily with this rub they've concocted, which is sweet and spicy and salty. And I mean, just that in itself was fantastic. So then I go to the restaurant. They only serve it on Thursdays, and they do cracklin' mac. So they take the shells and cheese, just super rich shells and cheese, which is, certainly got that creaminess to it, right? And then they put the spicy, crunchy cracklins all over the top of it.
Wow.
And it's just, oh man, it felt like a heart attack eating it, but I could not stop. I don't know if I've got a photo of it here or not, but yeah. Oh, there we go.
Holy
There's the cracklin
moly.
mac right there.
Wow.
Oh, don't you want some of that right now?
I sure do. Maybe a whole bowl of that.
So I've written about that one for print, and so that one will be in our February issue. The cracklin mac. So that was certainly something special and unusual.
What do you see from a trend standpoint as we cross into the first part of the new year? Anything crazy we should be expecting, or any news items that you're following you might release?
I mean, it's hard for me to really think about the trends. My whole goal, my focus, everything is on the Texas Monthly Top 50. We do it every 4 years, and the next list is going to be coming out in the June issue, which means it comes out in May, which means I've got to get my picks in before March 1st, really. And so the next 2 months are going to be just all out, going to, 30 some places that I think might have top 10 potential, trying to whittle it down to, who's that top 10, who's number one. Is it going to be Goldies again? Is it going to be a new spot? Is it going to be an old favorite? Lots of eating still to do. I just went to see my cardiologist this morning.
Yeah.
And he said, so is the work level at the same pace? Like, he obviously knows what I do for a living. I was like, yeah, it's at the same pace for now, but about to really ramp up here. So Blood pressure was good today. Cholesterol check was good. So yeah.
All right. Well, this is
raring to go.
This is Daniel Vaughn. You need to be following him at BBQ Snob on social media. TMBBQ.com is the website. And of course, you see him here 4 times a year as we close out 2024. Do we count you in 4 more times for 2025?
Well, absolutely.
Okay. I don't want to assume. I always want to make sure that I'm extending the invitation.
Ohio boys got to stick together, man.
That's right. Very few of us left here in this business. So I appreciate all the time you give to show the support, of course, and then look forward to a great 2025. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year when you get to it, and we'll talk to you again in about 3 months.
Yeah, Merry Christmas to you. Enjoy it.
There he is, Daniel Vaughn, right there, closing out the year, and stellar information as always. Great segments with Daniel. Always appreciate the insight and the candidness, the candor. And we'll see him again in 2025. Great news for me and great news for you as the guest. Getting that unique Texas look, but also in a general scope as well. TMBBQ.com is the website, and Twitter is at BBQ Snob, also on other social handles. So follow him and be educated as well. All right, we're going to wrap up the show right after this, so stick around. We'll be right back.
You're listening to the Barbecue Central Show. Let's get back to a guy who has more experience giving you his opinion than he actually has cooking. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
And we welcome you back. We thank Daniel Vaughn for joining us last segment. TMBBQ.com, the website, at BBQ Snob on social. Quick update on the poll, and we are still at 52% of you saying yes, you will buy Meathead's book. Daniel Vaughn said I'd take 30%. I thought it would be 80% or higher on the yeses. What do I know? I do not know the audience. I do not.
We'll do it live.
I do not.
Andrew, you are
not knowing your audience. My problem. Let's let it ride out one last time. 2024. So good. So as we draw to a close, let me remind you, if you're just tuning in here live, or it really won't matter if you're getting it in podcast form or not, this is the last live show of the year. So next Tuesday on Christmas Eve, you will get a pre-recorded version of the December 2024 Embedded Correspondence. Hour and change of really good stuff. There's a great back and forth between me and Doug where I really let him have it. I call in to question his smarts, and he gets pissed and goes immediately on. He self-mutes, much like Diane me self-banned when I was talking about horses. Doug self-muted for a number of seconds to the point where I thought he might have lost connection. But he's like, I'm not having this conversation anymore. You've called in to question my smarts. So now I'm not even having this argument with you. You dope. So you want to tune in if for nothing else for that, but great hour and change for sure. And then we will have an Alton Brown New Year's Eve bonus segment that you will have. So both next Tuesday and the following Tuesday, there will be stuff in the feed on Tuesdays, and then you will have best of shows on Fridays as well. So if you're wondering why no live show next Tuesday and the following Tuesday, it's because Christmas Eve, New Year's Eve, even I can't have an ego so big to think that I will have the ability to command not only a live audience, but guests on those days. So that's why we're doing that. Also, since I won't have the time to do it, a great year of shows, a great year of new guests, and we're looking forward to a great 2025 filled with brand new guests and guests that we had on once this year that are going to be falling into next year, a new slew of quarterly guests that are coming in the second Tuesday of the month. So it's a wonderful 2024 coming to a close. And most of all, I want to thank you. I want to thank the international listener. I want to thank the domestic listener. I want to thank the live listener, the podcast listener. I continue to do this show not because of money. I continue to do this show not because I think I'm going to get famous. I continue to do this show not because I think I'm going to get on the regular radio or anything. None of that. Because I love it. Number one, and because you seem to love it, number two. And as long as those two things are running hand in hand, then I will be here bringing you the show to the best of my ability. That's all I can do. Show up here every week, continue to put in the work that nobody else is doing, continue to elevate the audio standard that nobody else is doing across the industry, radio and otherwise. And as long as you're here to listen to it in whatever form you're getting it, then I'm here for it. And we're going to do it all the way through 2025. So thank you for being here in 2024. Look forward to you next year. So let's close it out all the way back in the first hour. Jack Arnold for 2 segments. Then we had Wes Wright in the second hour, and we closed it out with Daniel Vaughn. So how do I always leave you? September 11th. 2001, I will never forget. And until the first Tuesday in January of 2025, this is your program host and proud U.S. American, Greg Rempe, saying Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and Shabbat!
Hi, this is Gene Acasella from Port St. John, Florida, and you're listening to the Really Big Barbecue Central Show.